I realized that I've been wearing a lot of ninja shirts.
Oh, yeah.
The two that I have, because they're so dang soft.
They are.
I got them and I was like, man, they mean it when they say that this is quality merch. Like, if people actually bought merch, I would buy from them for the podcast, but nobody buys merch, so I can't do that. But I legitimately am thinking about doing it for like our church. So
hey, Sunday Cool Teas, sponsor us.
This episode is brought to you by Sunday Cool Teas, and we will take that, even by name only.
Brought to you and powered by.
Yeah, I mean, their advertising is working. So just saying, I'm like, man, I just end up wearing these all the time. But we're here to talk about Daredevil. Our episodes 4 through 6 review. I've become less cynical, I realize, because as we're recording this, I realize that the clips of me ranting about Daredevil 1 through 3 episodes have been going around, and I'm like, man, I was kind of cynical. I was not getting into it. I believe episode 4 was the best episode so far. Episode 6 was a close second, in my opinion. I'm starting to kind of forget 1 through 3, but I think those two really stand out. The thing I told Ellie is that these aren't wowing me like the Netflix episodes did, but they're still good. And I think 4 and 6 brought those up a lot. The problem is that episode 5 really was going to bring it down because there doesn't seem to be anything necessary about that episode. The only thing I could see connecting is that Heather says you were in a bank robbing, and Matt just shrugs it off, obviously because he saved them, but he also it didn't play a part in the story. And unless there's going to be something revealed about that diamond or about the gang and Devlin, I mean the negotiator cop lady was in episode 6, but he could have just introduced her there. So I don't know if that was even necessary. I don't know.
Well, she was in episode 1 too.
I missed that one, but
she was talking with Sherry in the bar.
Sure. Okay. So then that's just a recurring character that. Yeah. I don't see the purpose in episode 5, but 4 was just so good. We have one of the most impactful scenes with Punisher, Frank Castle, and Matt since their rooftop scene and even the graveyard scene from season 2. Those two are the two that stand out. They always you can't just have a good fight scene if it doesn't mean anything. And these guys talk about what it means. And I know Punisher's going to come back. What I've been worrying about is that they flashed all these things on screen the same way that they did for things like Echo, where they were like, oh, look, Daredevil's in this. Oh, look, this and this and this. And then like Daredevil was in Echo for all of 4 minutes for a fight scene and then he's gone. So it's not like it's actually a thing. And that's kind of what I felt because they flashed. Sorry, I shouldn't use the word flash. It makes me feel weird. They had Punisher, they had the White Tiger, and I'm like, okay, and then you took those away from us. Yes, for emotional impact, the story's still moving forward, but I'm worried that they're just going to stay that way. White Tiger died. I was worried because I sent you like what's left in the trailers that we haven't seen yet, and there is more shots of Frank that we haven't seen. So I know he's coming back at least sometime in these next 3 episodes for 7, 8, and 9. And I hope that they're good. I think there's another fight scene where the anti-vigilante task force raids Matt's apartment and Punisher and Daredevil have to fight them. So I think that's going to be a really good scene, but nothing beats just a good old conversation between Frank and Matt. Just did Foggy get life or let me tell you something. I keep rewatching that one meme. I'll put it up now, but it's like when Frank says the thing and it's like perk up, like, I want to hear what you think. Like, you tell me something, Frank.
Sorry to waste your time.
I'll tell you what
Tell me what you think.
I don't think you came here for my help.
Sorry, I've been going. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Well, let me be frank. Episode 4 was really great, but it also had that one storyline that went nowhere.
What was it even about?
With the bodega robbery or whatever.
Golly, I just keep thinking about Frank. I can't remember it. I'm sorry.
Matt was representing that guy and tried to get him as like his least.
Yeah. I think
it was a weird plot line that went nowhere.
You're right. We don't know that it doesn't go anywhere. I doubt it will, but I'm just saying you're right. The one thing I thought about that section is that I don't know how I'm supposed to feel bad for the guy. I believe the idea, I heard somebody break it down. That was very cringy. I'm sorry. Do the breakdown dance from the Olympics.
Oh yeah.
Somebody broke it down saying that storyline was supposed to make us realize that the system is broken and that the rich kids can just get their bail paid out, and the people who aren't rich, like there's not everything's perfect about the justice system, of course. Mm-hmm. But the hard part is that they really did it at the expense of, like, am I supposed to be feeling bad for a criminal? Like, he robbed them of some fiddle faddle, and that maybe shouldn't get a crazy sentence. He negotiated, but even still, it said that he's had multiple misdemeanors in the past. So I'm like, I don't really feel bad for him. He's not learning. So maybe don't assume that the law can fix someone's morality. It's deeper than that in the real world. But it didn't feel right to be like, I don't know, all the sympathy to you who's had it so hard, when in reality you're the one who's still committing robbery and all this. Even if it's fiddle faddle. Something deeper there that we could talk about in our actual Born Again episode.
Oh yeah. It's so weird to me too how directly episode 6 picks up from episode 4.
Because the end of it, I believe, is a tease for Muse, right? Muse is... Yeah,
tease for Muse, and then, you have Daredevil and Kingpin kind of becoming Daredevil and Kingpin again.
And then we just take a pivot for 5 and then come back.
Pivot for 5.
I don't get it.
I guess episode 5 could be... it doesn't really even make sense. I mean, it just feels like repetitive for what was already done for Matt's character in episode 4, with just him realizing he needs to be Daredevil again.
I think it's because they wanted Mr. Khan in there. And as much as I respect them not doing like a big Avenger cameo, I like a side character cameo, but even still, they said Kamala way too much for the sake of like in a normal conversation. You establish her name, you say it once, and then, but they just say, Kamala, Kamala. I'm like, yes, I get that you're drilling this into the audience's head. If they watched Miss Marvel, they would understand. But it also could have been replaced with any other actor. I think that's something when you think about cameos is, could this have been somebody else, and would it have changed the story? I think it could have just been a banker. We could have even cut down the runtime of that episode a little bit without so much dialogue. He could have still been friends. He could have still said, hey, I'm coming to your house for supper. I'm going to make this friendship. It didn't need to be Mr. Khan, even though he was welcome. Like, I still like that connection. It just felt bloated. And it added to the reasons why 5 felt so unimportant.
He was more than a cameo in episode 5, but with, I guess, his guest star role in that episode, as well as the MCU cameo again in episode 6. They both felt natural to me, which I appreciated. They weren't very forced at all.
Yes, but my argument is that episode 5 feeling like filler could have been just for the reason of including him rather than the guy from Hawkeye showing up in episode 6. That does make sense. And Mr. Khan's inclusion in episode 5 also makes sense. And we even looked it up. Like, Jersey City is like 20 minutes from Hell's Kitchen. I know this probably isn't in Hell's Kitchen, but it's not impossible that this is, I don't even know if it was his job or a transfer or a temporary situation. I missed that line, but it still feels natural. I just don't think episode 5 is necessary. So the reason it's included is therefore because they wanted to include a cameo. Circular.
Well, I think it's more because they had this whole episode from the original version that they just wanted.
That's the real world answer. It's not a storytelling situation.
Yeah. And as I said, I saw one guy point out, Sean Chandler is his name. I saw him point out that this would have been better released as like a special presentation between seasons rather
or bring back one shots. Like, I like the one shots and they're just kind of
a long one shot, but
well, cut it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Take out some bloat. I think it would work. We've talked about how Frank and Matt's interaction is really great. I think it's interesting to note that they are now open with each other about Matt's identity. It was always assumed that he kind of heard it in his voice in his courtroom scene when he was on the stand, but it was never confirmed. And so it's like, okay, Matt knows that he's around. They didn't have any interactions in the Punisher series or the Defender series. So they're just kind of existing together. And I don't know. I don't know if Matt is going to be more like I knew where he was. I'm okay with him. I'm not going to attack him. Or like we're more buddies. And maybe they are buddies. I don't know. But
I would say this might be controversial.
Oh boy.
But I would say that scene was almost better than the rooftop scene.
It's close.
It's close.
I think the rooftop scene has both nostalgia attached to it and them setting up their relationship.
Yep.
You can't really have this conversation without that one. Where he's like, you know, you hit him and they get back up. I hit him and they stay down. Like that's passionate. And their ideologies are really going back and forth. And here it is too. And you hear it in like Frank's "Get him, daddy." Like that gets me. That gets me of like the.
Every time I stop moving, I still hear my little boy. I see him. And I hear his voice. He says, "Get him, daddy." Every last single one of them, get him.
And it's always his kids. He's always hearing his kids being, I mean, maybe it's his excuse, but it's also his reason. And there's no, he's not killing for no reason, I think. And it's just passionate and I love it.
I was going to say too, even though they still disagree on some pretty major things, they have a respect for each other now that they didn't have in that first scene, which just makes it a lot more emotionally invested.
Yeah.
And really that, I mean, I've heard that called more than once, like one of the best, the best exchange of dialogue in the MCU. And
Absolutely.
I don't know if I can disagree.
No,
because it was so just good. So well done. Great performances from both actors. Great writing. Great character work. Charlie Cox's delivery of "He got life" gives me such chills. It's insane.
It's that mask that he finally let break of mild-mannered, you know, I need to not let Daredevil out because that's what he's been feeling these last couple episodes. And it's his rage. And I think something that we could talk about either in the board again, I would kind of want to, we've talked about revisiting the Netflix shows and doing some more conversations about that. But the comparison between the cliched line, you're one bad day away from becoming me, or you and I are not so different. That's more of the cliched version. But that's really what Matt feels when he talks to Frank and when he interacts with Fisk. Fisk is more unhinged, as we saw at the end of episode 6, but he's still the intercut between episode 6 in the first part of the episode and in the end of the episode is showing that parallel of they're back and they're angry and they got problems is mostly the idea.
Frank pretty much won the argument from season 2, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like, look how your style of crime fighting led to your best friend dying. So
yeah. He made his point for sure.
He definitely sees himself as winning the argument. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think that also relates to what Matt did to Muse. Obviously, Muse is still alive and he escaped. But the moment where he's strangling him seems so brutal for Matt. And doesn't really have an agenda against Muse. He's just, it's like, because he hasn't been Daredevil for a while, he just kind of goes off the rails wearing the suit and forgets that he has limits, I guess.
And if Angela was okay in that moment, Muse probably would have been dead.
Yeah. If
he didn't have to save Angela.
Yeah. So. It's just, I don't know if that's part of the story or something they forgot that he doesn't kill.
Yeah.
So that seemed like he was intending to kill. And that's maybe something of like the Jekyll and Hyde in him where he's like, oh man, I didn't mean for that, but it came out. So
I will say again, I don't know why, but whenever they have him in the suit now, they always got to use some CGI, which bugs me.
Yeah. There's a lot of bouncy bodies. He's very elastic and I don't know. We got a leak of the shadow suit. That looks great.
Yeah.
I am curious. Again, I'm thinking of how to release a TV show in 2025. They seem to technically have 18 episode season planned, but they cut it off at 9, called it season 1, and released that. And currently they're filming season 2. Again, usually you would greenlight a season after this first season is done, but in actuality, this is all of season 1, all 18 episodes cut into different sections. So,
and I don't know how Matt found Muse so quickly.
I did send you that, but I think it's explained because Angela said train tracks. I believe she even said a station number, and also he could have followed her smell, I guess, because he has the smell. I mean,
he's a tracking dog now.
he was smelling the bullet casing, I believe, for Punisher, or for the crime scene with the White Tiger. But yeah,
also that shot of him, like, also I don't know how Muse could tell someone was coming. You know, when he walks
he heard
out.
A noise.
Oh, he heard a noise?
He heard a noise. The train went by, and then in the glare of the lights, he saw.
That shot was so. It was funny when it wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, I did like the move where then he attached to the wall and came lunging at him. That was cool, even if that was a little rubbery. But
just seeing Muse's look of, oh, frick.
Do you still think it's the I mean, there's nothing really telling his identity, but you still think it's the guy who needed counseling?
I would say so.
I think that makes most sense.
Just kind of because of the actor cast.
Ellie said, if this is Foggy, I'm going to cry. And I don't think it's Foggy.
No, it's the wrong body shape for Foggy. In
any other TV show, character dies and then a strange character with no identity shows up, you would kind of assume that. It's like what I say about Psych. If there's a new character, it's got to be one of those who did the crime. You know, it's kind of obvious because they're so short stories that you have to introduce someone new and then tell them that they did or whatever. But
no way it's Foggy.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
Fair.
What else was about to say?
I don't know. You got to wrap this up. We got to get back to our regularly scheduled episode. They didn't come here to listen to Daredevil. They came here to listen to live action remix.
We should almost drop this as its own video instead.
I will. Here. Never mind. This is not a
Never mind.
We're at 20 minutes and we barely have anything to cut. So it's just going to be our update. It's going to be a segment. It'll be a segment that was never featured in an episode. There you go.
Yes, this is Seth and Zach talking about recent Marvel news. That's what this is.
Yep.
All right. And now the other big announcement. Or big. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Marvel had a 5.5 hour live stream. Golly. Such a dumb way, but yet millions of people watched it, myself included. But releasing the cast of Doomsday, which again, I need to reevaluate how I'm looking at Doomsday as the next Avengers movie to simply part 1 of Secret Wars, because there was a lot revealed that was like, okay, we're combining universes here, because obviously the Fantastic Four and the X-Men are not a part of 616, and I continue to call it 616 because I can. Everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say 616.
You're not going to call it 1999999?
No, it's also dumb to say. So quickly running through so you don't have to watch a 5.5 hour live stream, even though they released a shorter version. Thor, Invisible Woman, Captain America, the Falcon version, obviously, Bucky Barnes, Black Panther, Black Panther, Letitia Wright, Ant-Man, John Walker, Namor, The Thing, Shang-Chi, Yelena, Beast, Sentry. I just comprehended that Sentry is going to be we're going to talk about Thunderbolts spoiler, how this changes our view of that, but I just realized that Sentry is now going to be in the cast. I don't know, and it's even weird that Namor is. Sorry, Danny Ramirez Falcon, the new Falcon, Human Torch, Red Guardian, M'Baku, Ghost, Loki, Charles Xavier, Magneto, Nightcrawler, Mystique, Cyclops, Gambit, Mr. Fantastic. So obviously all of the Fantastic Four are there. A great number of the X-Men are there, and some villains. And I don't know. I want to put this list up against how we changed the next Avengers lineup, but it's going to be very different, I know, because the people who are not in the list Chris Evans, Captain America, Haley Atwell, Captain Carter or Agent Carter, Wiccan, Hulk, Okoye, Star-Lord, Daredevil, Wong, Binary. Binary is Monica. Never mind.
Oh, mate.
Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, Spider-Man, Moon Knight, Valkyrie, the Wasp, and White Vision. Spider-Man, I believe they can't use in promotional material as much, so that he still might show up. But again, he's not going to get a movie before that.
Which is interesting, because that means that, the same could be said then for both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Just saying.
Yeah. I don't know. The one that really surprised me, I think, that wasn't included, some of them are B or C tier, but Hulk being sidelined seems odd. Yeah. Star-Lord. Hawkeye? I mean, I sent you a post that was like, when Hawkeye's not there, they lose. So some of the others are just kind of falling prey to the lack of development. Moon Knight, Wiccan. He was in a recent show, but like, I think they need another one. Binary with Monica. So, yeah.
Also, I mean, no Hugh Jackman or Ryan Reynolds either.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Ryan Reynolds isn't really a selling point right now.
No, but they're really cherry picking the X-Men that they're using. And that's the route they're going to go. So I don't know. I need to know what the leaks are about the story more, because this just seems like it seemed crazy to already bring back RDJ, and obviously he's in the cast. I don't think I mentioned him. RDJ is obviously going to be there. But considering that we have 2 movies basically before Doomsday releases next year, that's not happening. I'm telling you, they cannot be filming now and be done in a year. They're going to have it's going to be the terrible VFX. They're just giving those videos of Marvel with terrible VFX more fodder to include in their compilations, because it's not happening. They're rushing it. It's going to be too much. I don't know what else needs to be set up. Obviously, the Fantastic Four are going to get introduced, but we already know that the Thunderbolts isn't going to do anything. Like, no one's going to die. Sentry's not even going to be defeated in death. I still think that Taskmaster is going to die, but everybody else survives.
This is more evidence that just Taskmaster is dying.
Yeah, everybody else survives. Yeah. It's like I'm so confused that I'm more excited for DC at this point. I'm going to watch Doomsday, but I'm not excited because it just seems like grabbing at every possible straw that they can to make something work. You know,
here's the thing though. I feel like when some people, that was even intentional. Okay, put him right there.
Here's the thing.
What are they? I feel like when some people saw the cast for like Avengers Infinity War, I feel like they were saying the same thing that you were saying now. That it just feels like a lot of characters to bring together in a good story. But if the Russo brothers can pull it off once, maybe they can pull it off again.
You know what their track record has been since Endgame? Not good.
But when they're with Marvel, they somehow make great movies. So hopefully they can continue that trend.
You're crazy.
Maybe you're just... I don't know.
I'm in denial because cynical. I'm giving...
Stop being so cynical, Seth. Have some hope.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I don't know. It just... I would be interested. I'm actually going to do this. This is what I do sometimes, is going back to really old videos that have predictions in them and seeing what they got right and wrong, specifically with movies, in my case. I think I'm going to go back and look up cast announcement for Infinity War and see what people were saying, because I don't know. I understand that the world was a lot smaller then. Yes, Guardians never interacted with the Avengers and things like that, but it all actually meshed. And I'm giving them that they made it work. But like I said, the world's a lot smaller then. They're including X-Men now and a lot of underdeveloped characters. Everyone else that seemed like oddballs in Infinity War actually had development in their own right. Like 2 Guardians movies gave us plenty. I can't think of anyone else. I mean, there were tangential characters like Captain Marvel, but even she got her movie. She got a tease in Infinity War, at the end of Infinity War. And then she had some conflict in Endgame of, is she actually going to help us and whatnot? So it's not, I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just seeming very bloated. And I don't think that they've set it up enough to be able to get to a place where everyone gets along easily, I guess. Avengers Infinity War cast reaction. Yeah, I'll let you know if I find a good one. But well, do you have anything else?
Did you send me that thing about Professor X dying a fourth time, or did I see that somewhere else?
Somewhere else, but yeah, he's that's the other thing. We've seen him die in the multiverse. I'm not saying that that was the X, or that probably wasn't the Professor X of the original X-Men movies. Again, I even know that I haven't watched them, but I know that that timeline is all messed up and very confusing. But it just seems, part of me feels bad for these old guys, especially Ian McKellen, who's going to be acting on another green screen. You know, let them. I hope this movie puts an end to their characters so that we can move on. You believe that Secret Wars is going to be a reset for a lot of these characters, but that still feels like a long ways off. That's all I'm saying.
It's crazy.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode. We might be working harder on doing more consistent and quick uploads for news, but already we are 2 days behind on this news, and I don't even know if this is going to go up on Friday when we're recording it. So, yeah, I don't know. Listen to the actual episode this week. And follow us on our socials. Share this with a friend. Until next week, know that you're loved. God bless.
Thanks for watching, Mom.
Is she gonna watch this one?
I don't know.